Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carolina Felix, Senior Economic Consultant at Novaster and B-Way. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing a panel on the importance of excellence in customer care in the pension sector. I now have the pleasure of introducing three experts on this topic who will be telling us about their experience. They are Audrey Dear Williams, who's in charge of the Technical Office of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security of Jamaica, Luis Felipe Jimenez, from the Financial Superintendence of Colombia, and Ivan Pliego, President of the National Commission of the Retirement Savings System. The speakers will be able to answer questions during our Q&A session. I now introduce Audrey Dear Williams. I will introduce her in Spanish.
Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Previously, she was the Chief Technical Director at the National Insurance Fund for the periods 94 to 2000 and 2007 to 2017, which is the investment arm of the National Insurance Scheme. She currently serves as a member of the board of Sweet River Avatar, as well as JMMB Group Limited Board. Mrs. Dear Williams' academic achievements include a master's degree in business administration, specializing in finance from the University of Manchester, and a Bachelor of Science degree in economics and accounting from the University of West Indies. Audrey, please, it's a real pleasure to have you on this panel, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Carolina. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. It is my pleasure to join in the 9th Global Pension Program as I present on customer service excellence in the pension sector in Jamaica. My focus this morning will be on pensions in the public sector. So let me just start by saying that building a culture of customer service excellence has long been a goal of the government of Jamaica. In the 1990s, a transformation unit was established at the Cabinet Office, which mandated ministries, departments, and agencies to develop citizens' charters. Customer service training was undertaken service-wide, that means all of the civil service, and a customer service competition was launched, a biennial customer service competition was launched. I must say that my ministry was the first winner of that competition. Next. Coming from that experience of the transformation unit, ministries, departments, and agencies are now mandated to develop customer service improvement plans. These plans are to be aligned with the strategic business plans and the National Development Plan, Vision 2030. Vision 2030 underscores the need for modernization of the public sector to increase government effectiveness and the quality of service delivered to citizens. Governments are becoming increasingly aware of the need to structure current processes around the expectations of customers. There are departments of government which are very focused on transformation and ensuring that they can meet the needs of their customers efficiently. I can just mention a few: the Customs Agency of Jamaica, the Companies Office, and the Tax Administration of Jamaica. The Ease of Doing Business Index is an example of one of the metrics which the government pays keen attention to as we increase our effectiveness and efficiency in doing business. Next. But what does that mean for the National Insurance Scheme? Before I go into that, though, let me give you a quick background on the National Insurance Scheme. The NIS is a contributory social insurance scheme available to all persons in the workforce. It is designed as a first-tier social security scheme, which means it is supplemented by other sources of income for retirement planning. Contributors are either PAYE, meaning they're employed, or self-employed, and we also have a category of voluntary contributors. Our benefits, we offer a wide range of benefits, including retirement, maternity, health, survivors, and death. The scheme was established in 1966, which means we are 55 years old. We have over 125 pensioners currently worldwide, and meaning Jamaicans who have migrated and are living elsewhere, they can still access their pension. And we have over 550,000 active contributors at the moment. Next. So in assessing what it is that would challenge us in achieving customer service excellence, one of the things we noticed was that there were public concerns about processing times for our benefits, which could not be ignored. This forced us to look internally to see what those things that we needed to improve on if we were to achieve customer service excellence. When we did the examination, we found that transformation has been slow. Our processes were manual. Now they are semi-automated. We had two separate software which managed our pension systems, which they did not communicate to each other, and that proved challenging. There was a slow pace of automation, low job classification, which resulted in increased staff turnover. And as we tried to reform our system, as we implemented reforms, we recognized that the amendments to legislation was being done piecemeal. So these were some of the challenges we identified. Next. So in changing the paradigm, in changing our focus, where are we going? What do we need to do? We looked at the people and in an effort to solve some of the issues. So far, we have completed a staffing and operations review, which will result in an operational structure which is more suited to an efficient operation. We are fixing our alignment issues that we had within the organization, because we are currently a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. There are misalignments, and if I could take a sec just to explain specifically what I mean. For instance, our MIS department will not report or does not report directly to the Director of National Insurance or any of the other senior directors in the National Insurance scheme. So sometimes there are challenges in gaining access to resources that we need. We are also expecting that coming out of our operational review, that we will have best fit. We'll be able to identify the right persons for the right roles. And of course, we will fix our low classification issue by offering better remuneration to our team. Next. We also looked at our technology issues, and we are in the process of re-engineering our business processes. We have automated some of our processes by digitizing some of our records. We have upgraded our IT infrastructure. We have now transitioned to one business solution from the previous two distinct softwares I mentioned previously. We still do have some migration issues, but those we are working very hard to resolve. We have also transitioned from checks to electronic payments. So at this time, approximately 56% of our pensioners do receive their payments by direct deposit. Of course, with COVID-19, that we got some assistance because we had to increase the number of persons who receive direct deposit in order to assist with social distancing. Next. We also examined our communication. And so we did conduct a research. We did a NIS, Awareness and Perception Survey. And coming out of that survey, the objective is that we'll be able to craft suitable messages, with the ultimate objective being that we would extend coverage to among our working class. Next. We do have now, though, open lines of communication with both our internal and external stakeholders. Internally, we do host regular meetings with our staff, and we communicate regularly through our email system. We do host public education sessions, and this is very critical to us. It's a key performance indicator. Externally, we communicate using the GOJ information arm to produce and to publish public service announcements and advertisement in both print and electronic media. Next. Our external communication, though, does tend to be targeted. We promote direct deposit payments, changes in payment dates, and we also have different groups that we are targeting as we transition persons from informality to formality. We have started with our domestic workers, but we will also include our fisherfolk and farmers. All of this work is to supplement the work that we already do, our staff is doing on the ground. So ultimately, what am I saying? Having recognized the issues that we have, our issues with our people, our issues with technology, our vision is that if we fix both, fix our technology, have a strong base on which we will have a strong base on which to build, and our people will help us to cement that on that base, and that will ultimately result in us offering world-leading service to all our contributors and our beneficiaries. Thank you for having me.
Audrey, thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing the initiatives you are taking in Jamaica for the National Insurance Scheme. We really appreciate it. Ahora me gustaría pasar la palabra a Luis Felipe Jiménez.
At this time, I would like to actually turn it over to Luis Felipe Jimenez. And let me just state that Luis Felipe Jimenez is the Associate Superintendent for Pensions in the Finance Authority in Colombia, SFC. He's an economist and also has a master's in applied mathematics from the National University of Colombia, and also has a degree in public policy from Georgetown. He has been the Financial Authority aide and has also been a director for economic studies, and also has a great deal of experience in pension and fiduciary fund management. Luis Felipe, it is a great pleasure to have you. Just a reminder, 12 minutes for the presentation, and at the 2 minutes to close mark, you're going to hear a light bell. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Let me just share my presentation. Very well. I would love to talk to you about our vision when it comes to customer service. I also would like to just share with you what we are currently witnessing. This is a transition from a very specific asset management focus towards the kind of management approach that is more customer focused. I think that what we're experiencing in Colombia, which probably goes for the region, is that we are trying to incorporate more customer centric approaches in the way we do our work. Now, there's the legal component and the regulatory component, and there have been updates to make sure that this is all what is being done, but also this is what the public is asking for. People want to be at the heart of the work that we do. This is because we have a society that is increasingly educated and aware and is requesting more services. And so this requires a change in focus. The second item here is that we're seeing that these administrators are starting to include these strategies in their work. Now, when I talk about this transition, we should talk about two things. One is that it doesn't mean that when the systems focus more on asset management, the way information was administered didn't necessarily take the customer out of the equation. It just simply had a different focus. The second is that we are currently seeing a transformation and more of a transition towards a strategy that doesn't only try to focus on asset management and what we could call operating excellence with an additional component as customer service, but rather that we are engaging much more closely with these different components. And this leads to two things. The first is that there is a need for ongoing reviews of the goals set for each of the operational processes. This means that the information being gathered directly from customers needs to be reflected in how the different operational processes are designed. And I think that investment is a great example here. When you look at the different contribution plans, you can see that investment processes that tend to focus on maximizing savings. But ultimately, what customers are asking for is that their actual income is maximized, particularly in their old age. This balance between maximizing savings and income can sometimes be seen as a semantic difference, because we believe that with higher savings, there could be higher income, and that could be true in some cases, but it isn't an absolute truth. And I'll give an example here. This is what this looks like in the US context, and it essentially states that somebody who's 65 with $100,000 in 2009 could have gone to an entity to get $1,000 a month in annuities. A year later, somebody with $100,000 who is 65 could turn to the same entity, but they wouldn't get $1,000 a month. Rather, they would get $750. And so only by looking at savings, we can see that there are risks. This person had $100,000 in 2009, and in 2010, there wasn't necessarily savings volatility, so it could be an opportunity cost, but it doesn't necessarily lead to a significant risk. But when we look at this in terms of savings for old age, we saw a drop of 25%. And that drop was only linked to interest rate. And so there wasn't some sort of huge demographic shift or anything else. What we try to explain with this example is that maximizing savings doesn't necessarily guarantee that we maximized income. And when it comes to customer service, this basically means that if we're maximizing savings, we're going to be living in an absolute world. And so we only think about savings and not anything relative to income. This is going to lead to a mismatch, or sometimes the kinds of effects that can come from the volatility, given how we have linked the different components without taking into account all the risks. that can lead to being misaligned in terms of what our members and contributors are expecting. On the one hand, it is because the projections are off, or secondly, because there is a lot of volatility with regard to expectations, but ultimately leads to the same thing, dissatisfaction in contributors. This all means that we need to rethink the goals of these different processes, but also listen to what the customers are asking for. They are saying that they want to make sure that what they're getting every month is what they want it to be, and not necessarily just say that saving is good just because. And this is an example that can be used for different processes as well. The challenge here is understanding how the administrator can gather the information and data from customers and include that in process design. The second is that we have realized that transparency is simply not enough. There needs to be a more active role played by these asset managers in the management. And so having a fully detailed portfolios that are on the internet website, and for there to be great websites, beautifully designed, with full access to the public. But it's not enough to expect that you can put that out there and have customers come on and see it. There needs to be more done. We need to engage customers more, but also allow for more changes from what customers want. One of the key elements is understanding that having updated databases is absolutely key. We know that about 30% of databases, according to these statistics, are out of date annually because of changing data. The second key component is assessing designs to ensure that behavioral economics is driving the design of these processes. It is no longer enough to just get the data and to let customers continue to operate the way they think. We need to also take into account behavioral economics and that education, and also help customers understand how to do things differently. There should also be a better understanding of how behavior is changing, and also understand customer capacity. So now let's bring all of this into a Colombian context. What have we been doing? We have been working on the regulations that incentivizes these different components for pension administrators in Colombia for both find benefit and for the different kinds of plans. Under this regulation, these administrators need to have a clear policy for how to update databases with contact information. Many times you don't even know if the contact information for email, for a phone number, is the right one for customers. And so we need to make sure that we have the right contact information so that these education campaigns are actually reaching them. The second has to do with the specific key moment in life for our users, where managers and administrators need to try to get ahead of these issues. For example, there's a time at which you can freely move between one plan or the other, and that is 10 years prior to retirement. This means that administrators need to make sure that all of the contributors know that this is coming up or that it is happening, and understand how it works and can make changes accordingly. Now, there's another critical moment for what happens 2 years before retirement. And this is because of what we have inherited in terms of low degree of information and outreach with the previous systems. And there are a few newer things that need to be taken into account. Now, I'll go more quickly. I know I don't have a lot of time, but under this regulation as well, administrators need to have an impact assessment policy or program to understand how financial literacy is advancing. The IDB actually helped us with a key project here, designing and developing a number of the workshops that were for supervisors, and that helped us better understand all of the different pieces. Just Carolina, if you can bear with me for another minute and a half, we're seeing results from what we have been able to monitor. We have started to see results that we believe are both operational and behavioral. Here we see the results of the outreach campaign from one of these pension funds. And this is what was provided 10 years before retirement. And the control group went through this education campaign, and we have already 24% that also were able to address a number of issues that were part of the outreach campaign. If you look at the two graphs on the bottom, it shows here that we have been able to cut the time between when someone files for retirement and receives their pension by 2 months. Just as a takeaway here, just wanted to say that in 2020, the administrators had a 3.5 million people target group. What we have also been able to see is that thanks to the work that has been done 2 years prior to retirement, 80% of those retirees have already gotten all of the documentation checked and approved. We also see that our databases have been updated for over 1 million members. And we also have other processes for continuously checking goals and outcomes and impact assessments and others. The two key takeaways here to close. This transition pretty much leads to two things. One, that we need to rethink all operational processes based on the information that we're getting from customers. And the second is that transparency is good, but not enough. We need to go out and look for information and find additional information to enhance the steps we're already taking. Thank you. Luis Felipe, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Thank you for sharing your experience from Colombia with us, from your financial regulator. Let's now introduce our last panelist. We have Ivan Pliego Moreno, who has joined us. Ivan Pliego is the president of the National Commission of the Retirement Savings System of CONSAR in Mexico. He has a degree from the National Teachers School and has a degree in political sociology from the Metropolitan Autonomous University and has a doctorate in economic history from the London School of Economics and Political Science. He has also been the coordinator of the Technical Office for International Trade Negotiations and also an advisor to the president of the Finance Commission and Public Credit. Between 2010 and 2013, he was an outreach director for the Public Finance Research Center in the House of Representatives, and between 2013 and 2015 was an advisor on finance and administration at the Security and Social Services Institute, ISSTE. He also served at the General Administration on Evaluation and was named Ombudsman in 2017. He has also done a great deal of academic work as a researcher at the Social Studies Think Tank and Public Opinion Center, the CSOP, and has also worked on other budget, economics, and financial issues. He has also been a lecturer at UAM at the Ibero-American University and Anáhuac University, where he has led a number of projects and worked with master's and PhD students as their thesis and dissertation directors on finance, economics, and public administration. Since December 2018 and through 2021, Dr. Pliego was the executive for Pensioniste, the retirement fund administrator. Ivan, it is great to have you here on our panel. We have 12 minutes for your presentation, and just like we have heard in previous presentations, you are going to hear a bell when you are 2 minutes away from the end of your time. Thank you very much. The floor is yours. Carolina, thank you very much.
I will present in English, and well, I'll be able to switch if necessary. Well, I begin to say that it's a pleasure for me to be here. I don't know if Professor Nicholas Barr is there, but it's good to be back home in a way. As Carolina said, I was at LSE for a while, doing my PhD a number of years now, but it's always good to be in touch with LSE. Thank you all for this opportunity. I must start by saying that the retirement savings system of Mexico has begun a profound transformation over the last couple of months, 10 weeks to be precise. And we're talking about a change of model. Sí, claro.
I will share my screen.
As you can see, regarding this topic of the excellence in customer service in the pension sector, where Mexico has this special place as one of the more active regulatory bodies in terms of the service for customers. The new model, as I was saying, is based on these 4 drivers. To begin with, reduction of the fees, aligned to the new law approved, a bill passed last year in 2020, where also the amount of contributions for the saving for the retirement of workers will be increased gradually until the end of the decade, moving the 6.5% of savings to 15% for this purpose of retirement. Fees, accordingly, have been reduced, will be reduced as January 1st, will begin 2022, coming down 23 basis points, which eventually will mean an increase of the returns of the yields of the workers around 6%. We want to reinforce the competition of the Afores, aiming at improving, having higher returns, better yields, and better services, improving the quality of the services. Regarding regulation, we want to improve operational efficiency as well as financial efficiency, and to reduce operational and regulatory costs for the Afores. Finally, the aim of the system has to be the improvement of the replacement rate, improving the amount of pensions for the workers to receive. Regarding this social security and financial literacy, CONSAR has a number of projects we have this website, Ahorro y Futuro, la aventura de mi vida, which can be broadly translated as savings and the future, a lifetime adventure, a digital space web page which purpose is to transmit general concepts of personal finance in a didactic and attractive way for the population of different ages, where the concept of saving for the retirement is introduced in a subtle way, as well as to support the grounding of personal projects in daily life, here and now. Information and awareness. We offer courses to the employees, companies, and human resources areas to attend procedures related to the accounts. In addition, we collaborate with universities, colleges to introduce the retirement savings courses to young people with the purpose that they have information when entering to the labor market. Regarding financial inclusion, the strategy we have developed is by creating different tools for people that are incorporated in the system and can also be used by people willing to generate voluntary savings, although they are not incorporated into the social system. Afore Móvil is this app in which the system offers 27 services, making it easier for customers to have information, make some transactions, have the state of account instantly, and even switch Afores. It's still a limited number of people of the system, but we're working on improving and making broadly available for the 70 million workers that participate in the system. Linking people means for the regulatory entity to have direct contact. The fairs that we call Afore fairs, they offer this opportunity to carry out procedures and consultations for workers on site. They public and private institutions participate, and even though the pandemic of the COVID-19 prevents us from organizing this in 2021, next year we have the aim to organize 2 or 3 of them through the year. These, as I said, the Afore have the opportunity, the different Afores, the 10 Afores of the system have the opportunity to have a direct link to inform and to involve the public, general public, into the topics of the retirement of the savings system. There's another program we call Mexicans Living Abroad, which is aimed at the millions of Mexicans and Mexican nationals who live abroad, mainly in the United States and in North America and different parts of Latin America. We have developed this new mechanism for education and financial inclusion in conjunction with the Institute of Mexicans Living Abroad. WISE, a special program, was developed for our repatriated nationals in order to provide them with all the support and information so they can start their life in Mexico again, if they so decide, including the issue of saving for the retirement and pension. Regarding voluntary saving, that is a particularly important and relevant strategy for all those that participate in the system, the social system, Mexico, but particularly important for all those who are not included, people we call as informal workers, which amount several millions of Mexican workers. There's another program we call saving by spending with no additional costs. This program, basically what it does is to spare part of the spending into your retirement saving account. Finally, regarding the service regulation, in most industries, services are the determining factor for clients to stay with a specific brand or company. The mandatory nature of the pension system, however, alters this basic relationship between the client and the company, which makes it necessary to create incentives for the authority to improve their services. The service regulation, completely enforced since 2021, this year, seeks that the authority redirect the strategies and business models from the merely commercial sphere to the improvement of the service they can provide to the customers. Summarizing, we are in this work in progress new service model of the retirement savings system in Mexico. We are glad to let the people know about the achievements we'll be seeing in the very, very short term. As I was glad to hear, there's a lot of coincidences of the visions in different parts, particularly those that we have just heard from Colombia. I have to say, in this new law, international references like the case of Colombia, Chile, and the United States are relevant to define and to reorient the system in Mexico. Well, time's up. Thank you very much. Ready to answer any questions, should it be anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a todos, ¿no? También a Luis Felipe.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you to Luis Felipe and Audrey. We've received a good number of questions. Unfortunately, we are a bit delayed in terms of our agenda. So I will try to consolidate all these questions into a single one and give each one of our panelists 1 or 2 minutes to tell us their thoughts about this question. There's a lot of curiosity about all the initiatives you've been telling us about regarding communication with members, the digital initiative, and all the work that's been done in this field. Has this all been motivated by changes in regulations, or has it happened automatically in some way? Have institutions simply been implementing them because they want to improve the quality of the service they provide? Tell us a little bit about that. And tell us also, what is the main challenge you've faced along that road toward better, improved attention to your customers? And what would you like to improve further so you can provide an even better service to your members? I'd like to give the floor to Audrey. I'm not seeing Audrey. Maybe it's my camera. I don't know if Audrey, if you're there and you heard
yes,
me.
I am still here.
And then we'll talk to Ivan.
Thank you, Audrey.
Yes.
So maybe you can start and then we go with Luis Felipe and Ivan.
Okay, so your first question was whether or not the improvement was driven by changes in legislation. And for us, that has not been the experience. It is driven simply by our need to improve our customer service to the beneficiaries and the contributors who are in the scheme. Your second question The second question, I don't recall your second question.
The second one was if you could tell us what were your main difficulties in the process and what is your way ahead. So if you have any plans for any initiatives or things that you would like to do to improve the service for users, if you could share this with us.
So as I indicated in my presentation, the two main difficulties we've faced, one was in relation to our people, and meaning the levels and the remuneration that we are able to afford our team. And secondly, and perhaps even more critical, is the digital challenges that we have. Our transformation has been quite slow to more automated processes. And for us, if we are to achieve a world-class level of customer service, we must have some positive impact in those two very critical areas.
Excellent, Audrey. Luis Felipe?
Gracias, Carolina. Mira, yo creo que...
Thank you, Carolina. Yes, I think it's a little of everything. When we talk to the fund administrators, we see a change in most of their strategies. They're bringing in other elements for measurements, for example, to measure the satisfaction of their customers. And we see that they are a lot more focused on their customers as well. So that's a change that's taken place there in the private sector. And I showed you the graphs of people who are near retirement. We see that as a best practice, but not throughout the entire industry. So regulation made it possible to define certain standards and scale it up to the entire industry, so that we would elevate the standards of all the industry based on best practices that we had actually found within the industry. And then this other element is key. Through regulation, we did promote changes in the way results are measured, much more of a strategy of measuring impact. So this was done by regulation, but together with this, we've been supporting implementation, because conceptually it's a rather complicated change to make. So we've added complementary elements, so we know how far we can go, at what pace we can advance. So this is important. It's not just regulations, implementation is also complicated. And then to conclude, I think we need to work a lot on the investment process. In Mexico, they've already been through that big change toward an investment process with objectives that already bring in the decumulation phase. I think that's a big challenge for us. And we've seen this discussion take place in many fora, and we're having this debate in Colombia now, and we're hoping to go through that change next year. And here we do need to do a deeper regulatory change, I believe. So what do we need to do? Work on measuring indicators so we can align those results with our objectives. So measuring of results of impact, that's what we should focus on, and that'll give us new horizons and understanding of how we can change our process. And that's work that we need to do, not just as a country. I think internationally we all need to do that. Thank you, Luis Felipe.
Gracias. De manera muy breve.
Thank you. Just very briefly, as I mentioned it in the presentation, there was an initiative by the government in partnership with the workers and the private sector to increase contributions by the employer. And throughout this decade, it'll go from 6.5 today to 15%. That is a basic crucial change that is aligned with the new approach, the new methodology that takes into account international benchmarks, Chile, Colombia, United States, so that there's a comparable, internationally comparable commission that is being charged. So that's where we are. And starting January 1st, we hope to reduce from the average 0.80 that Afores are charging to 0.57 approximately. And this will have a very important effect, a significant impact on savers. And these past 2 months, we've been working with the entire sector because there are initiatives coming from various different Afores, various different pension fund administrators in order to improve the quality of our customer service. And for us, the objective is to ensure that these agreements are being complied with, and so is the law. Next year, SAR, our savings system, will be 25 years old. It is now more mature. Assets are 21% of our GDP. And there are many challenges ahead. For example, we need to make the investment scheme more flexible so we can achieve better yields, better return on investment, so we can go back to the financial nature of those Afores and leave behind that commercial vision that we've had for the past few years.